Hello everybody, I'm back. Welcome to the Minutes with Milo, Minutes with Project shows. So, I don't know how these videos are going to come together. I'm trying to make videos on several of my projects as I work on them a little bit at a time. Because if you've seen any of the videos that I've done, I've mentioned that the theory I'm working with currently is, instead of trying to just hammer down on one project and then get burnt out on it and get frustrated, what I'm trying to do is do a little bit on every project. So I'll spend some time on my Datsun, my truck, and I'll spend some time on the Datsun Roadster, and I've started spending some time on my LS that I'm going to put into I think it's an 81, 82 Regal, Buick Regal. But anyway, I've had this thing, forever, and pushed it to the side, put it on a motor stand, and covered it up. And so I've been working on the floors on the Datsun pickup truck. I've been working on the engine out of the Roadster. Those may be separate videos depending on how they play out. So I've started doing some work on the LS. And one of the things I'm going to do is, of course, what do you do with an LS engine except turbocharge it? So I'm going to put a turbo on it. And how am I going to do it? Like everybody else, as cheap as I can, right? So with that in mind, I bought the 5.3 liter. I've got bunches of parts already bought, been collecting them for couple of years, 3 years. Anyway, I'm not going to buy turbo headers. I'm going to take the stock manifolds off. I'm going to turn them around, so instead of facing, back out of the engine, they're going to face forward on the engine. That's going to work into the hot side of the turbo, feed it to the turbo, come out of the turbo, intercooler, intake. Okay, so very basic setup. If you ever watch Sloppy Mechanics on YouTube, Matt is fantastic on LS's. Been doing it for years and years and years. So I'm copying his BS. Don't BS me. Don't bullshit me. Build on his internet. And so I've got the list, bought some of the stuff. This is what I'm going to do. But anyway, if you know anything about LS's, the manifold bolts are tiny, and they're notorious for breaking off inside the head. Alright, so I didn't break these two off. They were broke off when I got it. But anyway, so what I've done a little research, as much as I do on anything. Ask the internet, how's the best way to get stuck LS manifold bolts free? So, lots of ways, without breaking them. That's the important part, without breaking them off. So, I found one guy, made sense, because I have heard this before. It made sense to me, thought I would try it. And what he does is a two-step process. He takes WD-40 or liquid wrench, PB blaster, something like that, that's designed to free up rusty bolts, screws, nuts, all that stuff. It's a penetrating oil that is supposed to get in between, help break down the rust, all that kind of stuff. So, theory is, you water those things down with that. You coat them down with that I've done it for 2 days. All right, come down in the evening, hose them down, come down in the morning, hose them down, come back in the evening, hose them down, and let them sit. That's the reason I've got the engine laid around like it is, because it's on a little bit of an angle. I don't know if you can tell that, so it's not 100% flat. It's sloping a little bit this way, and so you spray it up here and it runs down, and you can see it, maybe you can see it collecting right here. So it runs down, and my theory is I'd spray it on the head and on the bolt, get it in there. Then what you're supposed to do is take your 10 millimeter ratchet. This one's already broke free, I'll give you that. All right, and so you loosen it, tighten it, loosen it, tighten it, loosen it, tighten it. And I've been trying to do this now, like I said, for 2 days. And finally this evening, I've gotten the 3 that were stuck the worst to turn just like 1/8 of a turn, just a bit. But then what you do is you just work it back and forth, and go a little further each time, and then till you can get a full turn, and then you go back a full turn, and you go the full turn and a quarter, and then you go back a full turn, and you get the idea. So this one turns about 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 of a turn, and so does this one and this one. So I didn't start filming this because I wasn't sure if it would even work. I mean, they wouldn't even budge 15 minutes ago. So I've been working on them for about 15 minutes, and just like that, they started turning. So we'll sit you down here. I'm going to try to get you in a spot where you might be able to see. I hope you can, without falling over. I don't have a very good tripod set up here. All right. So like I said, this one over here, I had gotten it loose when the engine was, when I first got the engine. And I didn't really even work on these others. But you can kind of tell that this one, see how it just barely moves. Barely moves. And that's what you do. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it moves a little bit easier each turn. Then I'm going to give that one a break because it starts to heat up. The friction of twisting it against all that resistance heats it up. Now, could be a good thing or bad thing. But, so I want to move on to this other one. And you can tell it moves a lot easier. Now, what I'm using is an old 3/8 inch ratchet that broke. It's one of these cheap ones. It broke, so what I did is I tack welded it in 4 spots and made kind of a mini breaker bar, if you will, for 3/8. And I've used it, and it works pretty good. You have to put a pipe on here to extend it. But that's the reason I'm able to go back and forth without resetting the ratchet part, is because it's welded in there. Alright, so take another bite on that one. This one is getting some resistance right in there, but that one's pretty good. So this one, about a quarter of a turn, and you probably can't hear it, but as I'm turning it back, I can hear it grind a little bit. So I know that it's breaking free down inside there. All right. And what the gentleman said on the internet was, don't take one fully out and leave one tight, because then what happens is the manifold kind of flexes and it will put strain on the bolt, this, you know, that you're trying to get loose. So what I'm trying to do is get them to come loose kind of evenly so that they don't bind up. Now this one by far is my toughest one. I mean, it hasn't come around like the other ones have. But, you know, he says just back and forth, be patient with it. I'm going to loosen it up here. Call it loose. We'll give it a little spritz. It won't spritz me in the face. Back down in there. Give them all another little spritz. We'll tighten this one back down. Now I'm going to move to these two again. I think I can get these loose. If I were to put a real ratchet on there, I think I could probably ratchet these off. But I don't know. That one's pretty loose. I know it's hard for you to tell how much pressure I'm putting on that by just watching me turn it, but this one's starting to loosen up a little bit better. All right. I'm going to take a little better, see if we can go a little more. Yep, this one's coming, this one's just about as loose as those other two are now. So I think I might switch to a regular ratchet. And see what we can do. Alright, a little at a time on all those so they don't bind up. Alright, so this is the toughest one. See, she's still kind of touchy. I'm going to back that up. Tighten it down. Alright. And loosen it up. Alright. We'll tighten it down a little bit. I mean, it looks like I'm turning it a lot, but I probably haven't even turned it really 2 full turns. Because I'm just taking it like a quarter of a turn at a time. Or less, actually. Alright, but it is coming loose. I'm going to take this one loose. You can tell that's loose. Alright, let's see about this one. That one's pretty good. Alright. I think we're doing pretty good here. This is the one right here. I still got to be patient with this one. I can hear it. I can hear it grinding down in there. All right. She's getting tight again. So let's tighten it back up. And go at it one more time. Alright, give that one a break. Let's get these other ones. Alright. So, as far as the best I can tell, this is like an 02 truck engine. Alright. There's one of them. I don't have any idea how many miles are on it. I've never heard it run. Alright, there's the other one. Make sure it's all on there. Yep, it's all there. So this one, she's still crusty. It's getting looser. I'm interested to see how far off, how those two are broke off, how far down in there they're broke off. Okay, there you have it. That's the last one. Look how crusty that one was. That was crusty. Alright. Alright, there it is. Yeah, I know. It don't look like much. But what I'm talking about is I'll turn it this way so the exhaust is up and towards the front and build the turbo that way. But I think what you do, instead of doing it this way up, you flip this one over on that other side and it's to the front and down. So when I do it, it'll be pointing towards the front, but it'll be pointing down towards the ground. I doubt if I'll reuse these again, but they're metal. It's not blown out. It's not burnt through. I mean, it was sealing good apparently. So who knows? Who knows what we'll do? Oh, okay. There's two multi-layer metal gaskets. Alright, yeah, both of those are broke off below the surface. I thought I had a wire brushy here. Let me get these things. Let me get these up. And I'm just going to drop them down in here because I don't have a bucket or anything right now to put them in. Let's see, there's one there, one there. All right. Let me scrape this out, get an idea of how much of a problem I'm up against with these. Yep. Alright, just like I had suspected, All right. Those, if it'll focus on it, let me get it over here. See if it'll focus. See, that's below the head surface right there. And then this one, this is the same deal. It's below the head surface. If you can see that. See how it's down below the head. So that is why I tried to find a better way to get those bolts out, because that's what you want to try to avoid. That's going to be a real problem. And I've seen ways to get those out. And I'm lucky I have a welder, because everything you do, that got soaked with a bunch of penetrating oil. These, you can tell they were still sealed. The oil didn't get down into these. Little crusties down in there. This side doesn't. The exhaust side doesn't worry me if something's little crumblies are down in there. Why? Because it's going to push everything out. And say, oh well, it'll push it out into your turbo. Well, I'm not going to start this thing the very first time with the turbo on it. The plan is, like a lot of plans, baby steps. Okay? First thing I need to do, I don't want to get these manifolds off. I want to get it cleaned up. I've got a cam and springs to put into it. I'm going to do some other things, help improve the oiling for the oil pump. Going to put, new oil seals on it, new timing cover, look at all that stuff. Going to put a trunnion update in it. So if you know anything about LS's, and if you don't, just look up LS trunnion upgrade. And so I'm going to take all the, the valve train apart, do all that kind of stuff, soak the lifters, clean them, put it all back together, and then I'm going to start it without the turbo. Run it without the turbo, naturally aspirated. I've got a Holley Terminator X to put on it. Get it running, get it in the car, do that first, then worry about trying to put the turbo on. So it should have several miles, if not several hundred miles on it before I even put the turbo on it. So that's why I'm not worried about it. For something, a little bit of something down inside the exhaust, I worry about it in the intake. I've got the intake sealed off because once that stuff gets in there, it don't come out. If it gets in right here, it's going to be blown out the exhaust first time you crank it up. So anyway, that's my LS 5.3. It's they call it Gen 3, but it is one of the ones that has the weaker piston rods in it. But I'm not worried about that. They've been making good power with these things, stock bottom end, stock rods, for a long time. So I haven't. Somebody else figured all that stuff out. But anyway, like I said, some more of these videos. Don't know how these are going to come out. Don't know if I'll put them out one at a time or in a series or put all my project updates together. But anyway, I appreciate you. And like, subscribe to the channel. Watch me live on Thursday nights at 9. Just talk about junk, basically. Anything that comes to mind, you can call in, become a participant. I'll talk to you on the phone. I'll talk to you live on video. You can get on the show. Just email me, minuteswithmilo@gmail. Send me a Facebook, Minutes with Milo on Facebook. It's MYLO. So Minutes with Milo, MYLO. Facebook, Instagram, X, Reddit. So hit me. I'd love to have somebody to talk to besides myself. Get in on the chat, whatever you want to do. But Leave me a comment on this. Tell me what you think about LS's. Love them, hate them. Everybody's across the board on that. All right. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening. Oh, and have a happy New Year. This is New Year's Eve. Why would I be partying? This is New Year's Eve. It's engine time.